Hello, how are we guys? Are we all well? I hope so. Uh, you find me in a slightly different set of circumstances today because I find myself sort of compelled to do a review. Not normally something I have to do, but I have to do it because we're almost killing this bottle. And there's a good reason for why that is, and I'll explain that in a little minute. I'm still here in El Paso. Bit of a strange day because it's actually snowed, and if you're here and you go on social media, there's just a plethora of pictures of snow in the hills and stuff. It's quite a strange experience because the sun is out, and when the sun's on you, it's warm, but it's very cold. It's like minus 6 centigrade at the minute. So if you're in the shade, it's freezing. But if you're out, the sun's still on you. It's very strange, very strange. But anyway, El Paso has its own distillery, and it's part of the craft distilling movement that is sweeping all across America. There's now something like 2,000 registered, or near enough 2,000 registered distilleries across the states. And to be honest, it's when you talk to these guys and find out about the regulations that there are, to hoops to jump through to open a distillery, which, I mean, it's hard anywhere, we know that. But in the States, it seems to be extremely difficult. Although maybe it's improving a little bit from what I'm hearing because people begin to get used to the how distilleries, because for ages, lots of the states had no distilleries in them at all. And there is this huge resurgence in craft brewing, in craft distilling, and let's be honest, there's nobody does things the way that anything even remotely like what they do in the States. When the States decides to do things, when people in the States decide to do something, it just explodes, and people just buy into things. They just get absolutely fired up. And they do things that other nations just don't do. You know, when people in the States decide to do something, they go all out, and more power to them. So what you have in El Paso, which is a big city, you have the City Distillery. We did a live broadcast a few weeks ago, a while back, from the distillery, where I went down and met Xavier, we met Ryan, albeit Ryan had to be on streamed over. He streamed over and came and joined us virtually, as these things are done these days. Because what these guys are sort of the typical of what is happening in distilling in the States. They have another job. They had a passion maybe for brewing or for some other background. They transplanted those skills across in terms of their passion for then distilling, and they're in some ways finding their feet and doing things a little bit differently from other people, because in some ways they're amateurs. They're not professionals. They're not backed by big guys, but they are producing quite a lot of stuff. Now, they're engineers, and what they've done is they've built well, they're not aesthetically pleasing. If you haven't seen the show that came from down at the distillery, well, let's just say they're built for function, not aesthetics, because they're engineers. Now, the stills are built out of stainless steel, and the copper contact comes in the inserts, and it's surprising because there's not a lot of copper contact. You're kind of told by distilleries that, oh, you need as much copper contact as much as possible, you need a blah blah blah. Well, the truth is you don't actually need huge volumes of it to get away from the sulfites and stuff that you're wanting to take away, and these guys have proved it. Now, this is one of their whiskies, and they give me this bottle. I have been working my way through this with some rapidity. There's been a lot of samples out of this, and there's a very good reason why. Now, because lots of this is new, it's a new thing in America. There wasn't that many distilleries in the States, so really there's no regulations as to what exactly a whiskey is. It can vary from state to state. There's different regulations for bourbon and all that. We know that. But what you can put down as being a whiskey is well, it's different, you know. This is, hang on, I have to put a bit of light. Whiskey distilled from bourbon mash, that's what it says in this. It's quite complex. Now bear with me, because as soon as I say something here, you'll know straight away these guys' background is in craft brewing. Now, it says, and this to someone from Ireland or Scotland especially, and you say this, it sounds ridiculous. It says here, aged for at least 1 year, 1 whole year. It wouldn't even be whiskey back in Ireland or Scotland. You know, it wouldn't meet the regulations. Now, the thing is, it's 54% yellow dint corn. Now, that yellow dint corn is really the commodity corn that's used in pretty much everything. It's used in bourbon, it's used in all the big guys. That's what you do. It's a commodity just brought in. Now, the other bit is it's 36% Special B Belgian caramel malt and then 10% Munich malt. Now, I'm not familiar with the craft brewing industry or whatever. It's just not something that ever really rocked my world. So I had to ask what this was. Now, the caramel malt is the darkest of the Belgian caramel malts, and it brings burnt sugar, dried fruit, and it's used quite a lot in stouts. Okay, Munich malt, it's a lager style malt used in dark lagers. Okay, so they took this expertise, put it in, and run it through their stills. Now, it's finished a little bit in maple casks. It says bourbon casks on this, but they don't tell you on the label, but I'm assured that it was finished for a little bit in maple casks. So what's the result of this? Oh, it's bottled, by the way, at 43%. 45%. Well, on the nose, it's quite strange. There is a very much a honeycomb sweetness coming through. Very much reminiscent of a sort of Belgian stout type, dark beer, dark ale. But above it, there's a tarry note. It doesn't smell particularly nice. It doesn't have a great nose on it. It doesn't. It noses as if there's a slight amateurish feel to it. It doesn't have refined, complex notes in one regard, but in the other, what you're getting is you're getting this balance. You're getting this sort of sweet, rounded, flavoursome, popcorny type note here, and on the other hand, you're getting this almost slightly chemical, industrial, tarry nose, which you think, I don't know whether this is going to be top quality drink or not. Now, I will just say, if you haven't seen the show that me and Justin did, Ryan and Xavier's background is in distilling, oil refining, slightly different products, but exactly the same process. The distillation's exactly the same. Now, so on the nose, it's got a nice cream. It's got a nice creamy honeycomb flavour to it. Like something you would get from Baskin Robbins or that kind of thing. And then this sort of weird note that's on it. To be honest, you kind of think that the cask hasn't worked on this, that the cask hasn't drawn the impurities out of it, hasn't had long enough. However, that's wonderful. Goes on the palate. It's got loads of lovely flavour to it. It's very much like an ice cream. It's got kind of butterscotch notes. It's got sweetness. It's got caramel. It's got again honeycomb, like crunchies. In the UK, it's got crunchy notes to it. A little bit of chocolate in it. That chemical note that you get on the nose doesn't really translate into the taste. It's lovely. It's fantastically nice to drink. There's not a huge finish on it. It doesn't develop a huge amount. I'm telling you, I was extremely, extremely impressed. Now they do have a range of other spirits. They do a gin, which I'm not a huge gin lover. I'm not a great lover of juniper berries, but it's not a juniper-led gin, which is really, really, really drinkable. Really drinkable. And this is the thing. This is what a lot of people who are whiskey purists and whiskey connoisseurs and all of this won't ever really get. This is just completely drinkable. You can sit down, you can drink away at this, you can make decent cocktails with this. The nose is a bit unusual, a bit different, a little bit, I've never had that before. And this is something that is quite exciting. Now the guys down there, honestly, really, really nice guys who try and do a little bit for the community. They are doing some charitable work, and this is $40. Now, if you go onto the City Distillery website, it's $40, which you can pay off. Now, these days, when whiskey prices are, it's like a NASA space launch in terms of what price they are, you can buy a very tasty, authentic, well thought out, well produced, flavoursome whiskey and pay it off when it's not even that expensive to start with. And I think that deserves a lot of credit, a lot of credit. People who are passionate about it, who are trying to run a business, and they must be doing something right because they're going to open another distillery not too far away across into New Mexico. They're making something genuine, something that is flavoursome, that has authenticity, passion, differences. What's not to like? Honestly, I know this is going to be hard for lots and lots of people to get their hands on, but it's worthy of note. If this is where the American whiskey industry is going, lots of these craft distillers and distilleries that are producing really, really good spirit. Now I know there'll be people say, but it's not whiskey in Irish or in Scottish terms, or because of how young it is, and it doesn't meet the classification. But it meets the classification here, and that's the important bit. Now these guys really are only starting, they're only finding their feet. But if this is the shape of things to come for these guys particularly, and for the American whiskey industry in general, this is good stuff. I promise you, you can drink this easily. It's not overly complex, but it doesn't need to be. It's not setting itself out to be. And it's why I have to do this now, because this is a bottle kill later on this evening. Please drink responsibly, kids. But yeah, honestly, very, very impressed, and well, it's just a really, really nice drink. Now, yeah, Guapo, I think that's how it's pronounced. If it's not pronounced right, anybody that speaks Spanish, please don't get at me. El Guapo means handsome. I'll get Justin a bottle. I'll get Justin a bottle so he can try it. The irony's not lost on us there. No, but no, honestly, really, really good stuff. Really impressed. Nice guys doing good work, doing charitable work, trying to include as much into the Sun City as possible. Have to give it a rating, I suppose, something along those lines. It's $40. Tasty as anything. Nice background story. I'll give this 9 out of 10. That's the truth. I could drink away at that easily. Not going to spend hours and hours and hours debating layers of complexity and flavours and all this kind of stuff, because it doesn't really have it. But I'm telling you, this is cracking stuff. So on that note, take care of yourselves, guys, and I'll catch up with you again soon. If you want to see me and Justin every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. I have to put that in now because we're getting people from all over the world who tune in and get us. But yeah, so get us Irish Whiskey Review and take care of yourself. Sláinte.